building out the pipeline and listing all the companies' names you might potentially want to partner with, sell to, whatever type of biz dev activity you're looking to do is often the easier part. The more challenging part, which I alluded to earlier, is this company is tens, hundreds, thousands of people. How do I find the specific person that is interested or maybe interested to hear what I have to say amongst this environment? And I have a very defined system and hierarchy as to how I do this that basically takes into account what's most effective and what's going to take me the least amount of time. Because there's certain things that I might be able to derive the same answer from, but it's going to take me much longer to do that. So I'm going to go through each one of these in terms of a progression that's where I go first, finishing up with where I go last. So first place I go is LinkedIn. And you need to assume that if you know your business, you're going to have a sense of who potentially at a company, in terms of what position they have, might be appropriate for you to connect with. So if I'm selling an advertising solution, odds are I'll probably want to find somebody in marketing. If I'm selling like for me, if I wanted to do API integrations, a director of product management or somebody on the business development team is usually the person you want to talk to. But often, these people, there's 20 people in the marketing department, 200 people in the marketing department here, 5 business development executives. How do you know you're going to get the right one? A very simple way is to view somebody's profile in LinkedIn. Often they will give you exactly what they focus on within a specific company, and you'll also see on that person's profile on the right-hand side, viewers of this profile also view. So these are people that are often very related or in the same department of that person within a company. And I can't tell you how many times I looked at a person's profile and I scanned throughout the company and I tried to find that person who had the appropriate thing that I was looking for in their job title or description, and I couldn't find it. But I was actually able to locate, I couldn't find that person. Maybe it was because I didn't have enough connections with them, but I was able to locate that in the side here, which was incredibly helpful. Now the challenge is often when you find that person, a lot of times, especially if you're not dropping $120 every month for a LinkedIn premium account, all the bells and whistles, you'll get something like this, private account. So if I'm looking for the owner of this restaurant, All Out Catering, and I stumble upon private account, it's really no good. So in this case, when I Google that, I have David McClellan. He's the owner of All Out Catering. He was hiding from me because he didn't have enough connections to me. This is a very simple way that you can do this. The next place that I go, which what's up?
So when you find them through Google like that, you can message them from that screen?
So I can message them from LinkedIn. However, I find that going through email is always a million times more effective than sending them a message through LinkedIn. And the reason it is because LinkedIn is fraught with a ton of recruiters, a ton of salespeople that write really long, poor copy. And so, by nature of that ecosystem, as soon as I receive a LinkedIn message and I don't know the person, I immediately just assume it's spam. And a lot of people have that mentality in my experience. So, really, what I'm looking for is just the person. I'm looking to find the person who manages a specific position, in this case, the owner of a restaurant, and I'm looking to find their name so I can put that in the pipeline and basically use the name and the website URL to guess their email or to call that business and get that information. And a lot of times LinkedIn, I can't find that information. So the next place I'll go, which is incredibly obvious, is the website of business. There'll be a leadership section or about us or employees. Often you can at least find somebody's name there. But a lot of times, especially at bigger companies, it's that information is usually not there. So another place where you can potentially find these people, which is the third place I like to go, is my personal network. A lot of times when have you guys all played around on LinkedIn before? So when you Google a company, you'll see the people basically in order of who you're connected to, or how you're connected to all these people. And if I see a bunch of the same person over and over that's connected to people at these companies, odds are they either work for that company, they just know a lot of people at that company, maybe they had an ex-girlfriend that loves bringing them to company parties at that company. I'm not sure, but the good news is that this is a potential person when I identify this opportunity that I could mine for intel about who the decision maker might be at a particular company. And this happened to me 2 weeks ago, or 2 months ago, and I'll just show you how to approach the situation. So I saw my friend, I'm just going to say, I saw my friend Chad, had a bunch of people in common with this company. And this company is 1,000+ people, it's a public company, it's huge, and I just have no idea where to even start. So I emailed Chad. You can use this script. I've used it without the personal anecdote at the top. I've used a very similar script multiple times, and it almost always works. And it just goes like this. Hey Chad, I'm trying to get connected with somebody at blank who is on the team that works on their website for their products to talk about integrating a single platform. Would you have any insight into the right person or the right department to talk to might be? It's a huge company. Any direction here would be awesome. In other news, how's summer been? Chad get back to me in like 4 minutes. Yeah, I actually worked on the product team and I'm really good friends with the product manager, director of online services group. How do you prefer an intro? Twitter. Or in email or Twitter. And this is just a simple example of, I might not know somebody at that company, but I might know somebody who's dealt with that company or worked at that company that I could basically just ask for intel. And the thing you have to realize here is I'm friends with Chad, but this is a low risk ask. I'm just asking him to point me in the right direction. I'm not like, hey, can you email? And I'm not assuming that he's friends with this company. I'm not assuming that he's going to make an introduction to somebody. I'm just like, hey, show me where to start. And often when you just ask a low risk ask like that, people will always get back to you. And sometimes even go ahead and offer an intro right away. All right, so not all of us have chats. We don't all have people that know everybody and their cousins that work at a company. So a very simple thing that you can do is an informational cold call. I think the important thing to focus on in this instance is what the goal of the call is at this stage. So remember, at this point, we're just filling out the pipeline. We're just putting people's names who are decision makers next to a company. We're not trying to sell them on our product yet. We're not trying to tell them how awesome we are. We're not trying to grab coffee with anybody. We're just trying to get names so that we can approach the situation effectively. So the ideal approach here is to essentially using LinkedIn or using the company website, is to get the name of someone that you believe may or may not either be the person that you're targeting or know the person that you're targeting because they're in the same department. And essentially ask them, get the corporate phone number, ask for that person from the receptionist, and basically just ask them very simply who's responsible for the initiative that you're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through a script, and we'll talk a little bit more about calling above, which is a really effective tactic you can weave into an informational cold call. But I'm going to go ahead and show you what you would say in this scenario to basically identify this person. And I think it's really important too, before you do this, have a script written out in front of you while you're on the phone so that you know exactly what to say. Not only for the call, but also for the voicemail. Because a lot of people, they have their script for the call, they make the call, they're all excited that they actually have something to say, and then the voicemail comes in and they do one of two things. A, they leave some nonsense voicemail that doesn't actually sound professional or say what they want to say, or they get scared and just hang up and get on their voicemail. So having both written down beforehand is so important. And so this is the type of approach that I use. Hey, and I want you to, I'm going to read this exactly how I read it if I was doing a call, because your tone and style is very important. Hey, let's just say the person I called the company was Sue. Hey Sue, Scott Burton here. I'm calling from a company called Single Platform. I was hoping you might be able to help me out here. Pause. I'm looking to connect with the person who manages social media at Company X. Do you know who that'd be? Now, what I want you to notice about this is I'm asking this person a question, or asking them to basically engage in interaction with me within the first 2 sentences. When it's 8:30 at night and you're about to eat dinner and somebody cold calls you and says, hey, this is so-and-so from X, I want to do this, X, Y, Z, yada, yada, and it's just like a robot, and your brain just turns off, and all you can think about is getting off the phone as soon as possible. When will this person stop talking so that I can get off the phone? That's the last thing you want to do. And what you should learn from these people about what not to do is that it's so important for you to engage this person in the interaction early on. So when I say, hey, here's my name, I was hoping you might be able to help me out here, and I pause. All of a sudden, that draws the person into the conversation. And the term, speaking in such a manner like, hey, I was hoping you might be able to help me out here, is very conversational, it's very, it engenders comfort, and it's not, the robotic pitch that we're used to getting when somebody cold calls us. And so this, let's move on to the second paragraph here. All I'm asking this person is for data on who somebody is who's responsible for something. So I'm looking to connect with the person who manages this initiative at your company. Do you know who that is? I'm not asking for an introduction, I'm not trying to sell them, I'm just asking for information about who manages them. This is a pretty low risk ask. And honestly, usually people are so anxious to get off the phone with somebody that they don't know, they'll give you that information right away. I'm like, yeah, you want to talk to X, Y, Z in this department. And I'll say, great. I actually just want to shoot them over some information about how we've worked with your competitors, X, Y, Z, or how we can add this benefit to your site. Would you be able to provide me with their email address? And why I ask this question now is because when I have their name, that's great. I can find their email address. But this saves me time. If I can get that person to give me their email address, that's much, much better. And I guess that's more or less the interaction. If they say, hey, you know what, I actually can't give you your email address, that's fine. You have a name, you know that that's the right person, and now you can use that name to basically guess this person's email address. So I want to go ahead and just kind of highlight a few things that I didn't do. So I got somebody on the phone, I did not try to pitch them right there. Again, the goal at this point is to fill out the funnel, it's not to sell. And let's say that you call someone and they say, oh yeah, you know what, I'm actually responsible for that. It's very important to be cognizant that when you cold call somebody, you're interrupting their day. And when you interrupt their day, they're not in a position to be receptive to being pitched. They're probably looking at their computer like, wait, who are you? And if you try to pitch that person at that point in time, odds are you're not going to be successful. So even when I find somebody, and I will talk about this later, but even when I find somebody at that point, I don't pitch them. If I come across somebody who is the right person, I'll say, hey, I know you're probably super busy right now, but I want to talk to you for 10 minutes about X, Y, Z. Do you have some time do you have your calendar open and some time next week? And I'll go from there. Again, the goal is fill out the pipeline, get this person ready, not to pitch. I did not say more than 2 or 3 sentences without asking them a question or engaging them. Again, it's when people just start spouting off a ton of information without engaging in a conversation, people lose interest. They assume that you're a cold calling sales guy that's not going to add any value to their life, which is why you don't want to do that. And lastly, if somebody says that they can't tell you who manages a certain initiative at the company, you're full of crap. That is a very low-risk thing for someone to do, to say, but to just tell you who manages something. So if somebody says, you know, Scott, actually, I can't tell you who's responsible for social media at our company. It's a very easy thing you can do to say, honestly, I really think that your company would like to know about the solution. All I'm asking for is just the name of a person so I can send them information. That's all I'm going to do. And usually with a rebuttal that says, hey, I'm just looking for a name that reminds this person this is a low-risk ask, you'll get a positive response. And lastly, I said that you should start off with calling someone in the appropriate department that you're looking to, you have an educated guess that this might be the place to go. If you can't find anybody, a good place that you can call, just call sales. Salespeople sit by their phones all day and are so excited when somebody actually calls them. And they'll just divulge information like it's their job. So when I don't have somebody to call at a company, I'll just call sales and I'll just ask the salespeople who I should talk to. And a lot of times they'll tell me, and it's great. And they're super friendly. And they're so excited to talk to somebody that actually calls them.
What's the joke tonight?
That's right. That's right. So another tactic for filling out your pipeline, finding a decision maker, is basically just Googling the title of the person you think would be at a company, plus the term press release. A lot of times people are quoted in press releases at companies, so this can be an effective place to identify that person's name. Why I don't do this earlier in the decision-making, finding a decision-maker framework is because this can take a lot of time to scan through these articles and try to find these names. It's more of a last resort type of thing, but it can be effective. So in this case, Seamless Web Chief Marketing Officer press release. Down here in the fifth result, said Brian Scott, Chief Marketing Officer at Seamless Web. So that would be an example of where I could identify that person's name, which I could then use to contact him. An interesting place that I've started to use more and more to find decision makers is Twitter. The beauty of Twitter is that it's a public forum, therefore people they feel like they need to respond to you more so than something like info at or contact at or some random email form. So often just tweeting at the generic company handle and asking them who you should talk to can be an effective strategy. So very simple script you can use for this that I've had success with is, hey, company handle, I'm trying to get in touch with the person who manages X initiative. I want to send them something that they're going to want to check out. And this doesn't always work, but you've indicated that you're just looking for a person who manages a certain initiative and that you have something that you think they want. It can be very effective. I mentioned when you have a friend, I mentioned that when you have a friend that you that might have worked at a company that you could email that get intel on. Another thing that you could do that I've done is finding somebody that I don't know that used to work at that company and basically just cold emailing them and asking them for information. So let's say that I'm looking for the director of business development, and I actually somehow stumble upon the person who used to be the director of business development at a company. Basically, because these people are no longer part of this company that you're trying to target, often they just will divulge information because they're not worried about spamming people at this point, or they think they can potentially help their company out. So you see somebody who used to work in a function that might have been the person in charge of previously in charge of what you're looking to do, finding these people's names, emailing them at their new company about this information can be an effective thing to do. So you can just send an email with the subject, help, the company name, and hey, I've been having difficulty identifying the person in charge of this initiative. I saw you used to work there. Any idea who this might be? Any help is much appreciated. And this is kind of a, let's hope this person's a good Samaritan and wants helping out. But I've had success with it, so don't discount that. So at this point, there should be a ton of different ways that you can basically build out that pipeline, where you at least have the company names, and then you have the people at the names who are responsible for the initiative you want. Now it's about finding contact information for that person so that you can actually post it. I'm going to send you guys a post that I wrote about how to find anyone's email address that basically gives a framework to do that. It uses a couple tools, and I'm not going to go into them in depth now, but there's a great tool called Recorded that populates some of these social profiles in Gmail where you have the correct email address. Mail tester checks the server, checks the mail server, see if the specific address is attached to a domain. Data.com, Googling your best guess, calling somebody and asking, which I alluded to earlier, finding someone else's email, and then using that syntax at that company to determine that that's the person that you're looking for email, and if you have to, you can go ahead and use your personal email, which you find using all the same ways. So, okay, so now you've got name, you've got company name, you've got the contact of the decision maker, and the email address to contact them. And for phone numbers, almost always for companies that are larger, they'll have a phone number